Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to today's lesson. It can be an exciting lesson because we will be focusing on sequencers today. Some Max for Live effects, things that we can do to very much streamline the whole process of arranging in drums, right? So, let's get to it. I have a track here. This is basically just ambience we'll be playing. Just take a listen. We can keep it going, but you get the idea. It's just ambience. We're gonna fill it in with some rhythm, some groove, some percussive elements, right? So let's go ahead and start by having an empty MIDI track ready. I already have one here. And let's go ahead and put an operator on one. And let's create another MIDI track and put an operator on the other one as well, right? We should be quite familiar with this synth by now. Now, let's go into our Max for Live section. You should be able to have these standard ones. They come with the suite version of Ableton, or you can just download it, you can Google it. We're going to be using a few of these. Most notably, we're going to use from the Max MIDI effects, we're going to use the mono sequencer. Good, and we're also going to be using a rotating rhythm generator inside, let's say, our third MIDI track. Oh, let's just leave that in here for now. And actually, to keep things interesting, this third MIDI track, let's go ahead and actually use a sampler. We're going to use some sample today. We're going to get into sampling a little bit. In next videos, we'll go much deeper into that, but I'd say let's get our feet wet a little bit with this at this time. So in this first operator, let's get some kick bass going, all in one, right? So I'm going to take this first oscillator. It's just a sine wave. Oops, it's over here. And I'm going to turn on the pitch envelope. Let's actually get rid of this for now. And I'm going to bring the pitch envelope all the way up to have the pitch of the sine wave drop very quickly to make a kick, like so. I'm going to bring the peak a little bit up, maybe to plus 24 semitones. That way, it's dropping up by equal octaves. It will be quite good on the tuning side. Cool, we just need something like this. It doesn't have to be too fancy, you know. We just want something to like pump the track, okay? Now, in this next operator, let's make a simple snare sound. Here we have also a sine wave as before, but here we're going to change the wave to a noise, and we're going to use the filter envelope to give it some pluckiness, right? Check it out. It is a noise snare with a filter envelope on a low pass filter that gives this like weighty, this heaviness to it, you know, like metallic banging sound. Cool. And here we're also going to load up a mono sequencer. Nice. Let's go back to our first kick here. Okay, so if I press play right now, you'll just hear this sound repeated at equal velocity, equal pitch, and no changes happening, and it's going to be doing it at 1/16 notes. Effectively, I want this to be a little bit slower, so let's go take it to a 1/8. There we go. And let's draw in some velocity curves here. We can do this manually, like so. See what we come up with, or of course there is a random button if you feel that you would like to use that as well. And notice that nothing is happening. The reason for that is because we need to actually, in whatever synth we'll be using, we need to enable the velocity as a modulation source that actually will do something. So guess what? If you click here in our operator, you have a velocity section here, and you can send it to, as velocity would be typically, it's volume. Bring the amount all the way up. Now our synth is reacting to these velocity messages, right? But what's cool is that we can actually also send the velocity not to volume. We can send it to maybe the filter frequency. So based on where we put these parameters, we can output different filter frequency cutoff outputs, right? But anyway, in this case, let's go for the classic volume control here. Bring the filter actually off, we don't need that. I want the first one here to be full, maybe like so. Let's play a little bit with the pitch. And a tiny bit with the octave. Should be getting some interesting rhythms here. Now actually I would like to get rid of some of these notes. Cool, we get the idea, right? We also have access to different pattern banks, which we can then switch between, right? And so on. Let's stick with this one for now, because we're actually going to do a similar thing with our snare sound right now. It's also playing at equal positions here. I will actually get rid of some of these. Like so. Let's get rid of all of them. Oops, can't seem to... Oh, you just have to click it. And now all I'm going to do is maybe put one here. And here as well. Okay. And now in this last final instrument we have going here. Already something is happening rhythmically. Exactly. Now we can actually add a third layer to this drum situation using our sampler. Let's go ahead and actually resample any sound from a project we're working in. Perhaps, let me see, this ambient sound may be nice. I'm going to go ahead and just highlight an area on it, like so. I'm going to Control exit, then, you know, paste it back there so it doesn't disappear. And instead, I'm going to actually just click and drag it here inside our sampler. Let's delete the source file. And now, if I play notes, this is nice. So let's go ahead and create a specific setting for the sampler to actually trigger the sound. I would go into the filter global here, and this is our main amp envelope. I would give it a little bit of a pluck here. Some release. Nice, cool. Now let's maybe throw in from our MIDI effects a random pitch here, so that we get different pitch settings, right, every time it triggers. But because we don't want it to be, you know, in this case, too random, I'm going to also drop a scale MIDI effect right after. And I'm actually going to find the exact notes which I want it to play. The scale works in such a way that here you have a, 2x2, like, I guess, an octave by an octave, you know, an octave going this way, an octave going this way. And notice that sounds, whatever is triggered will play only the blue boxes which are enabled here. So we can find a tuning that we actually want it to trigger in, and leaving some empty spaces will also give it a silent play at some points, you know. So I'm going to go ahead and just go for a C, D, F, G, maybe an A, B, nothing too fancy. At least it will give it a little bit of tuning there, right? Let's give it a little bit more of this pluck. Less of it, I mean. Less of the release. Cool. And now let's enable the rotating rhythm generator. We will have to lower these divisions by 2 at the start, because we are working in double time here, as you can see, 260 BPM. So if we want 130 effectively, we need to, you know, divide or multiply everything. I'm going to change this to a 1/8, this to a 1/6, and this to an oddball, maybe like 5/16. Notice we have some note selections here. I'm going to go for maybe these, and let's listen to what this does. Let's lower these divisions more. This I will get rid of. This is the one that was... Now we're getting a rhythm. This is a polyrhythm sort of generator, because we can get these to trigger in different intervals and just keep playing, you know. In its most obvious form, let's go ahead and just set this to a 1/4 and a 1/3 division, and listen. This is the 1/3. This one's hitting at 1/4, right? Let's bring this back up. Give it a bit of swing on all of these, except maybe the original, the first one. And let's listen to our beats. Let's go ahead and duplicate our kick, but no worries, we're actually going to very quickly change this wave to a noise. Watch how quickly we can just instantly change the drum timbre. And I'm going to turn on the high pass filter, bring this all the way up, get rid of the pitch envelope, and modify the decay on the amp envelope. So we have a hi-hat. Let's randomize the velocity curves here, and let's listen. Let's go back to our hi-hat. Make this a little bit more snappy like so. And we're getting into some funky beat territory, right? If we bring in the ambience. What's interesting is we can get some polyrhythmic stuff going on if we change the duration of these loops. Changing the velocity like loop, for example on the hi-hats, because this is what's giving the groove to the hi-hat, the velocity, which we actually, yes, it's turned on. So notice what happens if it's not symmetric, I guess, looping. Be a long time before these loops actually meet at their starting points, you know, might not even ever happen actually. Let's go to our snare. Here we also have to So basically we have some nice drum sequence going, but one thing I would do after this is actually, let's go ahead and send the hi-hat and the snare, let's group them. And I'm going to create an audio track afterwards, like so, and take the audio from that group. So I would arm it and literally just record this specific group. I'll do the same thing for the kick now. Don't forget to not mutually exclusive arm. Having this in audio will allow us to actually moderate how we actually want this to arrange itself. Perhaps we don't want specific notes in specific places, right? Perhaps I want this. What if I only like this specific section, like so, and I would just use it to make a new loop, like so. And then we have more of a trance direction. Check it. Nice, right? This way we will be mixing the, you know, taking best from both worlds, the human expression and composition with AI arrangements, right? Anyway, hope this was a nice lesson for today. Hope this gets you going on some interesting ways to sequence. And tune in to the next one. Peace out.